Hi, and welcome back to Kairos, our monthly podcast on financial planning. This time we thought it would be apt to talk about financial planning for the festive season. Deepavali means a row of lights in Sanskrit. We are celebrating the victory of good over evil, the return of Ram after 14 years of exile, and celebrating goddess Lakshmi, who symbolizes wealth and prosperity. The festival season is filled with offers, sales, loans, and investment opportunities. We are going to help you make the most of this Diwali. It's that time of the year where we go visiting elders and family. Along with their blessings, we sometimes get money. So, what should one do with their Diwali money?
I think as kids, this was one of the things most of us look forward to. And my impulsive reaction would have been to buy a toy or some chocolates. But my Diwali money was always handed over to my mother, and she deposited this money in my bank account. And I only saw it when I was much older. The spirit of Diwali is to celebrate wealth and prosperity. I think what you should do with your Diwali money depends on what kind of person you are. If you're frugal by nature, then I think Diwali is the time to enjoy your money and spend on yourself. However, if you're generally indulgent, then this is the time to act more responsibly. So you can choose to settle outstanding dues on a loan or a credit card, or you can put aside money in your emergency fund, or you can even invest your money for a brighter future. The way I see it, it's about balancing your money values and celebrating the wealth that you have and the wealth that you want to create.
That's an interesting way of approaching things. Most people insist that Diwali money should be saved, but this is the time when you get the best discounts and deals. So, should we be saving or spending?
That's a very appropriate question. In Diwali, sales are the equivalent to the noise pollution of firecrackers. More often than not, you are better off avoiding a sale. Firstly, we end up spending way more than we intend to when we buy things at a discount. And only because the price tag says 70% or 80% off. Secondly, many discount tactics don't really help the customer. Let me break down a few here. The first one is last day sale or limited stock sales. So these are purely meant to cause FOMO. You may not consider buying from the store if the sale went on for a couple of weeks. This applies to large purchases like a vehicle too. Some offers are marketed for the festive season explicitly. However, these deals may be available even otherwise. So the tagline here is don't give it into FOMO. Up to 70% off. This is something that all of us must have come across. Most items in the store are not on sale. The majority of sale items will be at a discount of say 10 to 30 percentage. And only select items, mostly the uninteresting ones, will fall into the deep discount category. You can save both your time and your money by avoiding these type of sales. The next one is conditional discounts. For example, shop for at least 10,000 and get 20% offer. This is aimed at getting you to spend around rupees 10,000 at one destination at a particular time. It's a demand for your money disguised as a discount. Next one is quite common, freebies. I think this is just code for more stuff that you don't need. Buy four trousers and get the fifth one free. Do you even need four trousers, let alone the fifth one? We should get out of that mentality of buying things solely because of the freebies.
I think that really changes the way that we look at festive sales. But I'm sure many of us are still going to do some shopping in the festive season. Do you have any tips for smart spending?
Expenses can broadly be classified into four buckets: buying consumables, buying time by hiring help, buying experiences, and donating to charity. Research, and we link this in the description below, shows that we feel happier when we buy time and experiences or donate money. However, most of us tend to spend more on consumables and are often left unsatisfied afterwards. Understanding this could pave the way for smarter spending. That being said, it's hard to resist this temptation of a sale. I follow a simple four-step process to make the most out of any sale. So, the first step is what's in it for them. Try to assess what kind of sale you are at. Jaya nicely broke down a few of the marketing tactics. So, knowing the intention of the sale will help you make a more informed decision on what to buy. The second step is to make a wish list. So, when we're swiping our cards, we feel great about our decisions, but a few hours or a few days later, we often are filled with regret, and we find that we don't need or we don't even want some of the things that we've bought. So, the wish list will actually help you avoid having buyer's regret. The third step is to set a limit and spend only in cash. So decide in advance how much you want to spend. Your limit can actually be pretty generous, but it should be set in stone. And no matter what, you can't go overboard when you're spending only in cash. And studies have also shown that we're more conscious of our spending when we do it in cash rather than through digital payments. Personally, whenever I've tried setting a limit after I start shopping, I've always exceeded what was good for me. So, this is why it needs to happen before. And the last question that you want to ask is this good for me? So, many of us shop at sales because of the sale and not because of what we want or how much we can afford. So, going back to your decision to participate in a sale, that should always be based on your wish list and your budget and nothing else.
That's a pretty handy process. But what about zero interest loans? This pops up a lot on e commerce websites. And if you're not paying any interest, isn't that a great way to tick off items on your wish list without going overboard?
There's no free lunch in the loan business. Zero interest loans don't charge any interest, but that doesn't mean they are completely free. There are two ways to disguise interest. In the first case, instead of charging interest, the lender charges something called a service fee. The service fee is equivalent to the amount of interest earned on a loan, and this can be as high as say 24% per year. In the second case, the item is on a discount if you make a cash purchase and has no discount if you make a credit purchase. So if you take up the zero interest loan, you lose the discount. There's an informative article in the Economic Times about the real cost of zero interest loans. We have linked it for you in the description below. Do give it a read.
That's eye opening because most people believe that zero interest loans mean they are getting a loan for free. For us, Diwali is a time where we exchange sweets and gifts. It's hard not to go overboard at this time. So, how should one go about gifting?
Budgeting ahead of time and being prepared to spend more this month helps. Both of these actions will help you stay within your financial comfort zone and will minimize any sort of financial stress. We could try to give meaningful gifts to our friends and family. I had previously elaborated on what kind of expenses spark joy. One of the things our team is encouraging people to do is to gift financial plans, because financial planning is not a consumable good, it's an experience, and once you have it, it's the gift that keeps on giving. While this is Diwali season, it's also the start of wedding season. A lot of young couples are getting married this year, and they've been through a tough year financially speaking. And they have a lot of responsibilities also that lie ahead. So these weddings are smaller than most of these couples would have liked, and this means that even close friends and family may not be able to attend. And one way to make your blessings last for the years to come would be through gifting them a financial plan. So, we'll be sharing more details on how you can gift a financial plan on our social media handles later this month. If you'd like to know more right away, leave a comment or send us a message and we'll get back to you.
This year has been pretty rough on all of us, but there may be some good news this month. Some of us may receive a Diwali bonus. Dhanteras is incomplete without an investment in gold. What are some smart investment choices?
Well, investing during Diwali is a part of our tradition. So during the New Year, we have Muhurat trading. You are right. The tradition is to buy jewelry or say gold coins. We have repeatedly talked about how important gold is for asset allocation. When we buy jewelry, coins, or bars, we end up paying for wastage, making charges, and storage costs. So, a perfectly good investment loses its shine. Luckily, today there's a smarter way. We can buy digital gold in the form of, say, ETFs, mutual funds, or sovereign gold bonds. All of these investments are low cost, safe, invest in the high quality of gold, and deliver returns that are linked to gold prices.
So, investors have good reason to love digital gold. With that, we will wrap up. Before we go, here's a quick recap of what we discussed: ways to spend your Diwali money, how festive sales work, becoming a smart spender, why should you avoid zero interest EMIs, what to gift on a Diwali, how to save your Diwali bonus. Thank you all for listening in. We hope to see you next month. Don't forget to get in touch if you are thinking of gifting a financial plan to someone. Hit the subscribe button to see our videos first. Do like this video and share it with your friends. Thank you.